Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts. And so here, this is pre-market prep for Monday, April 21st, going over the Easter aftermath. And yeah, just going to look over the normal tickers, and then I will open up the chat to check those comments out in a little bit. But yeah, you guys can chat amongst yourselves if you like. I just can't see it right now. But anyways, going over the UVIX, this is the 2x long VIX futures ETF, which did close on Thursday at a price of $55.90, being down about 5.33% on the day. But it does look like we are bouncing a little bit in the pre-market, currently trading above $58 a share. And that does correspond with this red line here. We did close above it, and we are now trading above it, or I should say it does correspond with being above that line. So very interesting to see price continue to hover above that, and that does look like it was the high from December 19th at 54.60 there, and we nearly got a test of it over here. So that does seem like that kind of $55 range does seem like it is a notable area to be paying attention to. And I personally, I must say, I was expecting to see this be going down today. I thought we might be getting some good tariff news. There were some negotiations around the U.S. and China and the U.S. and Japan's tariff deals, I believe, over the weekend, but maybe I'm mistaken about that. What we can see on the 10-minute time frame here is Thursday's price action, just kind of choppy, going up and down throughout the day, closing the day, like I said, a little bit lower, flat into the after hours, but then we got this gap up. I feel like this is setting us up for the potential announcement of some good news, and then we see the UVIX pull back. So I do think that is something to keep in mind, that just because it's bouncing, just because the markets are going to be pulling back a little bit, corresponding with this, doesn't mean it's going to be long-lived volatile markets. And with good news, the UVIX will be coming down. And speaking of that, let's just see, before I flip over to the VIX, I just want to be keeping an eye out. The volume has been coming down as price has been coming down, and so we'll have to see. I still think that this could be coming down into the $40 range, so I think that there's still more downside potential. And but actually, before I switch over to the VIX, I should note that we do have, let's see, because we didn't have the 18th, that's marked here. We do have, this is today, the 21st, and this box, or at least the framing of it, will be adjusted because the 18th will be excluded because that was Good Friday. And so I will have to reassess this red box, and that would be corresponding with 10 bars or 10 trading days, 14 calendar days. I need to adjust that after the 18th is included. Wednesday will be the end of this red box. And so that would be where I think the UVIX approximately finds a bottom, and then the SVIX would be pulling back. So I would want to be keeping an eye on that. Still have that trade open, by the way. But anyways, looking at the VIX, did close on Friday at a price of $29.65, and I should say closed on Thursday, being down over 9% on the day. At least as far as I'm viewing it, there's no pre-market action on this, and this, I should note, is the Market Volatility Index, coming down to right around that red line, corresponding with the highs from December 18th. So was that the exact same day? Looks like it was off by just one day. The 18th over here for December, that high of 28.32. Maybe we come to that, down to that level, and maybe we do find some support around where that light blue uptrend is, going back to the lows from December 6th. So we'll have to wait and see. And since I did mention it, I will just pull up real quick the SVIX, which is the 1x short VIX futures ETF. And, we do have, kind of same corresponding with the red box over here, have the same kind of time frame with the green box over here. And I had previously had a limit buy order for just one share at 9:30, and then I'd reevaluate if it dips to that level. But I kind of recognize getting towards the end of this green box here, the bottom might be or actually not the bottom, the top might be in for this, and that was just below the level I had marked here at 1263, corresponding with the 236 retracement here with the high hit on April 15th, which was $12.42. I kind of regret getting out of my position, not getting out of my position at a small loss there. But yeah, rather than having a limit buy at 9:30 to reassess, I just have a stop loss there. And I have a limit sell, I believe, for one share at 1263. I was thinking that this might be going up after, I should mention this, closed Thursday at a price of 1137, being up 2.71% on the day. But now it looks like it's pulling back in the pre-markets, but still above 11. So there's still some hope that 9:30 won't be tested, that we could maybe get up to 14, and that is where I would exit the remainder of my position. But yeah, I do have a limit sell for one at 1263. I would then reassess there if I want to take the rest at a loss or hold on to 14, and then stop loss for one share at 9:30, and then reassess if that gets hit. But I'm not at work this week during the majority of market hours, so hopefully I can keep an eye on that. But as volume does come down after we've seen this downside move in consolidation, that could be a bear flag with a continuation down to 8 and below. This was ultimately not a good idea to be shorting the VIX in such a volatile market with a volatile president, with the tariffs, all of that. So my bad. I will learn my mistake either at 9:30, at 1263, or hopefully at 14. But hope is a 4-letter word, so I'm not going to be clinging on to that. But now let's flip over to the SPY, and this is the S&P 500 tracking ETF. Tracking ETF, and that closed on Thursday at a price of $526.41, being approximately flat on the day, up 0.14%. Still looking like it's holding on to this 382 retracement over here, having hit a low on Wednesday the 16th of 520.29, just above that 50% retracement, but piercing that 382 at 523.09. Currently, we are trading right around 520 in the pre-market. If I do flip over to that 10-minute time frame, we can see that we got a little bit of a dip in the early trading on Thursday before a bounce, and then a little bit of a sell-off, not really too surprising, into a long weekend. Did close, up a little bit on the day, holding those gains for the most part into the after hours on Thursday, but gapping down after the long weekend, that Easter aftermath, and attempted to get back up to that 523 level, but got rejected, pulling back. And, was just talking about a potential bear flag with the SVIX just on the 10-minute time frame. But this does look like, downside move, consolidation, like we will probably see a continuation lower on the SPY. And then, keeping our, mind on the daily time frame here, we see the volume pulling back, staying lower there. And so, we did have this upside move consolidation. So I would feel like bigger picture, this makes me think that it's probably going to at least attempt to get to 550, but maybe it just gets an ultimate rejection there. Do see this gap up here, at $564.52. That does need to get filled, but it may not be, or at least not on this run up. It might take some time to get there before it rolls over. So good to keep an eye on that. And then just kind of doing this comparison with the SPX, which is the S&P 500 index, closed on Thursday at a price of $5,282.70, being, approximately flat, just like the SPY, up, 0.13% versus the SPY 0.14%. So effectively the same, also just have that gap up there. This level here, this confluence of levels would correspond with a price of right around $5,540. We did hit highs, it looks like, on the 14th of $5,459 before getting rejected, but that was also lower than the high that we hit when we had this big pump on the 9th. And that was, up 9.5% on the day, hitting a high of $5,481. And thinking about that and then just relating it to the SPY, since I don't have volume down here on the SPX, we see this big move higher, a lot of volume, and then we see this pump on the 14th, this retest of those levels. But what do we see with the volume? Lower high, lower volume, and so that does suggest some weakness there, although we do see the MACD kind of flipping around to being slightly green, but it's effectively zero. So yeah, this strikes me as kind of a rejection of that. That also, thinking about things I should have done, that also kind of corresponds with, the 14th leading up to this. That would have been a good level for me to exit my SVIX position. But it is what it is. And so let's, since we've looked at the SPY, we've looked at the SPX, let's look over at Bitcoin, which is probably a little bit more exciting. Let's see, this Bitcoin is trading at around, above $87,000, crazy. And I did draw the CME gap here based on the Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. That is what the CME gap is based on. That's around $85,000. So we got about a retracement of around $2,000 to fill that gap. And from current price, that would represent about a 2.5% downside move. So, I could potentially, pick up either some BITI, ticker symbol BITI, which is ProShare Short Bitcoin, closed on Thursday at 25, or looking at the pre-market at 24.30, being down 2. Actually, this is kind of surprising. This is, the BITI is what I've talked about. ProShare Short. Okay, yeah, so this is down because Bitcoin is up. So yeah, that makes sense. But let's see, where would that level correspond with? That's just from, a few days ago. And this is a kind of an old line there. So the 11th. Okay, so this doesn't have as many candles. So the 17th is what I'd want to look at. And so that would be, this last candle here. So effectively, I'm just going to draw up a very casual horizontal line there based on that close at 25. And let's see, just make that to that whole dollar number. So do have that level there. But then, what's maybe a more appealing trade, because this is just 2.8% down. So then getting back up to that level from around basically this line here, that's about a 2% move. Not really that exciting. If we do look over at the SBIT, that is the ProShares Ultra Short Bitcoin ETF. So that just means it's 2x leveraged. And so looking at just the close here from the 17th, which was at 1160, so marked there, currently trading at 1092, and so I'm just going to flip over to the 10-minute time frame so we can get an idea of where this could be going to. From current price, that looks like it's a 6% move to the upside. So, maybe that's a little bit appealing. I'm going to have to think about that. Currently don't plan on getting into a position on Bitcoin to short it, at least to fill that CME gap, especially with the long weekend. It's kind of wonky with that being Thursday versus, a Friday close, which is more typical. But yeah, we are seeing this breakout from this trend line, which I even adjusted. So this is talking about Bitcoin now. And so, I even adjusted this, I believe on Thursday, to have it correspond with of course, before I had it with the pivot high from January 20th, but I adjusted this one to be the pivot high from April 2nd. So we don't really get a test of it on February 22nd. See a little bit of a gap there, not getting up to that red downtrend. Did get a couple tests of it over here in January at the end of the month. And yeah, so just trying to be really conservative with the breakout level. And we did consolidate here. It does look like we got a clean breakout, but if we do want to see, continuation to the upside, what we might end up seeing is maybe a retest of that level before then going higher. So that is something to consider, and that would potentially, most definitely correspond with a fill of that CME gap. And so there could be, a nice opportunity to short Bitcoin, even though it's kind of, scary to be doing so after we saw this, on the 20th. Looks like, 2.4% upside move there. But yeah, if everybody's talking about this breaking out and going long, there might be a little bit of a shakeout before that happens. So yeah, I mean, maybe BITI is a lower risk way to take advantage of that. Maybe SBIT is a more aggressive way to be taking advantage of that. But anyways, let's flip over to Ethereum. I did just put out a video for ETHSTER yesterday, breaking down my thesis, corresponding with these lines down here, right around 1400, thinking that that is the bottom. We do have some resistance overhead around 1800, 1900, which corresponds to this consolidation here. And looking at the weekly time frame, that does correspond with these lows, that trend line, and so that's probably going to be resistance. But by the end of the year, I think that we could be seeing price above at or around $8,000 a coin. So I am excited about that. And that is really just based on this trend line going back to the pivot high from January of 2018 to the high pivot here from, it looks like, May, or maybe that was June. I thought it was June. Looks like it's May of 2021. Got a retest and rejection of that level over here in November. So that was, marking the top. So I think that Ethereum has a lot of very clear potential, in my view, to the upside. Maybe by the end of the year, that's up around 400% from current price. So yeah, I am excited about that. But I know not everybody is excited about crypto. But then with that being said, let's just flip over real quick to uranium. This is the Global X Uranium ETF, ticker symbol URA, which closed on Thursday at a price of $22.87, being up 0.7% on the day, but pulling back, about 8 cents or 0.35% in the pre-market, down to around 22.79. And so let's see. It does look like we've gotten rejected. Lots of wicks above that green line here. Multiple wicks up there, hitting a high of 23.31 on Wednesday, the 16th. And we may be seeing an ultimate rejection here, maybe to retrace to around 22 or 21, corresponding with 22 being this 1618 from this Fibonacci extension drawn over here, or maybe just one of these retracement levels here at the 50% or the 618 right around $21 there. And just out of curiosity, maybe I want to add the 236 to this, and that might correspond with 22. So just adding that 22.37, but really, I don't think it's necessary to add all the clutter up there with those other levels. So I'm not going to do it, but I do think that we could be seeing a little bit of a pullback with this, and with that big spike in volume that we have here. We did get to slightly higher, hitting that high of 23.31, but we got a clear rejection below that green line. So it does seem like there's a fair amount of weakness there, and I should note that green line, it looks like it does have some history. It's a trend line based on the lows from August 5th, as well as I believe September 6th. Those were two kind of pivotal days in the market. Great dip buying opportunities for both of those days, but now we are below them, and so I think that could be acting as some resistance, just like it acted as some support here. Got a nice little bounce going up 13, almost 14% there. But now we have retraced and getting rejected from that level. So I'd look for dips to around, I'd say 21, maybe 21.38. We will have to see. But yeah, I'm not going to go over to the 10-minute time frame for that. And I just will open up the chat here real quick. And let's see if there's anybody. Hydro Hustler Swing Trader VXX. Yeah, sure, I'll pull that up. But I mean, really, like I just same type of thing when I go over the UVIX, I believe iPath, or maybe it's the because I can't cover all of the tickers and stuff. So is that more similar to? That looks like it's more similar to the VIX. Yeah, and the UVIX. You know, same. I was thinking the SVIX. But yeah, let's see. This is up 1.9%, which, you know, the UVIX is like 2x leveraged, so I kind of like that a little bit. Take advantage of the moves a little bit more. This is up 3.9%, whereas the VXX is up 1.9%. And let's see. Yeah, I mean, this looks like a bull flag. I mean, like, look at the difference that we see from over here. You know, this just goes up and then pulls back down. And then with the VIX over here, this, or the VXX, I should say, sorry, this goes up and then consolidates. We haven't even filled that gap here. So that makes me think that this is showing some strength. So the close on the 3rd was 62.49. I'm just going to adjust that so it's marked correctly. 62.49. And make sure we see that as a gap. Where did that 62, I don't know what happened there. 62.49. Okay, so got that marked. And yeah, I mean, we nearly got a fill of that gap, but have not filled it. So that's, I would say, showing some relative strength. If we look over at the UVIX, filled that gap over here. And so I think that it's actually, yeah, a clear picture that this looks like a bull flag. And from that, if this is to continue higher, which I don't really think the volatility index trades like this, but a 100% move, so basically the distance from there to there, that would suggest, let's see, just going to remove these other levels. That would suggest a price of around 109.69. Maybe there's some good luck there with that 69. And let's see, though. Yeah, I mean, we haven't, last time we saw prices up there was in October of 2023. So, I mean, yeah, maybe that could happen. And maybe that stop loss that I have for just the one share, the SVIX, will be getting hit. But I'm going to wait. I'm just going to try to be more disciplined with my thesis on this, that this should be going until Wednesday, which would be the 24th. And I think I've actually adjusted this to be 11. Nope. So the 24th, wait, let's see. This, yeah, it still has the 18th on there, so that's kind of odd. So I will have to adjust that. It says 10 bars now, but it should only be 9, so I will have to adjust that. But yeah, I think that we could be seeing some more volatility, and I think that the VIX, could be finding support around these levels, which, could correspond with some support here. And maybe since I did that fib extension, maybe I want to do just a retracement. Has pulled back to the 618, nearly got to the, has pulled back to the 50% around 68.02. And then here with the 618 at 62.55, corresponding with that gap fill, have not gotten to that level exactly. But maybe it is finding some support, and we do see something like this happen. So quite the possibility, and with that, I will be having that stop loss at 9:30 with the SVIX. I made a wrong trade here. I got in too early, started building my position at 18 here, basically when this started to fall off a cliff, and it got more aggressive down here, but not aggressive enough. Or I should have waited a little bit longer. But yeah, I mean, it's a learning process. And and good morning, Hydro Hustler. I missed the comment there. And so, yeah, if there are any other requests, I'll be happy to take them. But I might just flip over onto my phone to see if there are some stocks that are standing out to me that I kind of want to keep an eye out on. Okay, and so a couple of them. I didn't do one on GameStop over the weekend. Tesla has earnings coming up, and Unity Software I did do kind of an extensive video on that. And also I did a video on USAR, So maybe I'll follow up with that. I think the volatility that we're seeing in the markets could be, I was thinking, beneficial with more tensions with China, that we'd be maybe onshoring some more, Bitcoin mining and stuff like that. Oh, and maybe, I just want to add AMC as well, which I did see was up in, I think, the overnight trading, but don't see that now. So maybe I'll just go down the list. Oh, Hertz. Yep, I'll add Hertz as well. Let's see. I might actually just go over AMC real quick. I'm actually delete all of these that I just threw up there because I wanted to follow up on, Rivian and release a clip of that. So I will do that, but I will add your request of Hertz. Let's see, I'm just deleting all this stuff I just added. Just going to clean this up so I have all of the normal tickers up there for when I start tomorrow. HTZ is Hertz, and then I will do Rivian. Okay, so Hertz. I think I went over this at some point, clearly. That would have been probably, let's see, ticker request live. Do I have it over here? Nope. But I think I went over, did my analysis on this probably on Saturday. I didn't have ticker request live last night, unfortunately, but I did do a Saturday morning stream. I think it's like a coffee morning stream. And I talked about this potentially going up to 1072 here, finding resistance around this pivot point, but thinking like it's probably going to be coming down some, maybe to fill this gap. But so far, it doesn't look like we have gotten up to 1072, as it is pulling back in the pre-market down to like 750, down 8.5%. And so that's not really too surprising, seeing what's going on in the markets. They do have the earnings coming up on the 12th of May. Looking at the daily time frame here, if I look over at the 10-minute, it looks like it's getting rejected from my little doodle line there. But more seriously, if we do look at this, pre-market pricing getting up to there, with all of this volume behind it during trading hours, couldn't get higher than that. So that does seem like there is some weakness there, and we can just draw a trend line, kind of based on those tops there being a little bit approximate here. But yeah, seeming like there's some resistance. But with that being said, maybe this is a bull flag or a bull pennant, and that this could be breaking out from there, something like that. But this is the 10-minute time frame, so I would not, even just like breaking out like that, that's still potentially getting rejected from the highs here around $9. So something to keep in mind. And I'm just going to remove those drawings because they're too tight on the daily time frame. So yeah, I'd say best case scenario, getting up to around 1072, maybe 1050, or 11, but then I think getting rejected, maybe finding some support based on this downtrend, which corresponds with, this, how I've drawn that based on the high from October 7th, rejections over here. But yeah, I do draw the lines in the Saturday stream. It's 3 hours long. It's kind of a long one, but I do believe I went over it there. And so what I might do is just pull up Rivian, because I did have that in a poll, and I have not gone over it yet. And I did tell somebody I would be doing that over the weekend, so I should try to get this out here soon. And so I'm just going to kind of look at the chart, see what I think about it. But we are down 1.38% in the pre-market. That's not really that bad. But we do see, rejections from kind of like a downtrend here. With that, yeah, I mean, I think that we could be finding some support. To be honest, I think I had a limit buy at 11.03 here, corresponding with the 786. Because I think I did buy over here, but then I just kind of realized, I'm spread too thin in this kind of market, and so I should probably just not pay attention to this one. But yeah, I mean, did get a test of that green uptrend there, found support, and so I think that's looking, not so bad. Higher lows, and with that higher lows, we do see also, actually over here on the shorter time frame, we see a lower low, higher low. That's bullish divergence, and let's see. I'm just trying to see if this could go lower. Where might it go down to? I think that'd really just be like a downtrend from maybe this pivot high to this pivot low. And that could be, and really, I'm just going to kind of test draw this, trend channel here. Oh, and I want this to. Shouldn't this be? Oh, I guess I want a parallel. Is what I want. So parallel. So just drawing this here to the low there. And maybe the highs over here. Did get a fake out break above it, but yeah, I think it's trading kind of that range. So I might delete this doodle and delete that so I can draw it in the video. And yeah, let's see. And I might just make these lines a little bit thinner so it's not so overwhelming. And maybe, to be honest, I want to make this yellow. And maybe actually want to make it green. Or no, orange, I mean. Make this yellow. And then I'll make the parallel green. Okay, so, and also higher lows. What do we see in the RSI here? Higher lows still. So no bullish divergence. See lower highs here. Uh-oh. That's weak bearish divergence because we have the the flat highs here, corresponding with lower highs here. That's weak bearish divergence. But anyways, I am going to minimize the watch list over there, and I'm just going to hide the chat just for a minute, just because I'm going to effectively, record a Rivian video, which I will then release ideally before the market opens. And so I'll go over that. And maybe I want to start with some moving averages up there, and then I'll throw up the drawings after I remove those moving averages. But yeah, so I'll just get to recording this real quick. Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts like the chart behind me, which is of Rivian Automotive, ticker symbol RIVN, which closed on Thursday before, I should say, the holiday weekend, after last week closed at a price of $11.60. Being up about 1% on the day, but now it looks like it's pulling back about 1.38% in the pre-market on Monday, April 21st, after the long weekend, currently trading around 11.44. So it's actually not too bad of a pullback, still being in, the mid 11s, so not so bad there. And here, looking at the daily time frame, before I pull up the drawings that I have, did just want to mention these moving averages and the fact that we were trading above all of them over here but then we have slowly started to fade below them. So that doesn't really look so good, especially because we do have, that 21-day moving average. We are now trading below it, and that is at a price as of close on Thursday at a price of $11.87, being 27 cents above our close, more than that based on current price in the pre-market. And just above that, we have the 50-day moving average at $11.94 in yellow, and then in blue, we do have that 200-day moving average at $12.75, also kind of corresponding with this double top over here. So I do think that will likely be a lot of resistance. And also, before I throw up those drawings, it does seem like we have this drawdown here, consolidation, getting rejected from these moving averages. That actually looks like a bear flag, so I might want to do a Fibonacci extension from that here in just a second to get an idea of where price could be going. But first, I'm going to go over some of the levels that I have previously drawn up, and then I will draw in what might be suggesting that is a bear flag over there. But so just to look at some of the levels that I have drawn up here, I do have this red line here at 1549. That was the high that we hit on December 16th. We did pierce it with this massive green candle here on January 3rd, starting off the year. The day after the start of the year, the market was open because, of course, the first closed, the second we opened, and then the 3rd of January launched up 24.45%. But if we do look at that, what were some signs that maybe this was going to get rejected? One of those signs is that we had a higher high in the stock price, but looking at the RSI, over here actually initially we got a higher high, but the RSI was kind of flat around 75.26, and then over here 74.88. So a higher high in the stock price, a slightly lower high in the RSI. That's bearish divergence. Then we go even higher in the stock price, but the RSI hits a lower high. That is very clearly bearish divergence because the high over here was 74.85, then over here 70.66. Lower high, higher high, bearish divergence starting to get rejected. And then we get a bounce, a retest, attempting to get back to 1550, but hit a high on January 17th of 1534. So a lot of weakness there, and we have pulled back a lot. If I do just get, let's see, the measurement from there, we pulled back about 25% from that rejection. So not looking so great, but we have pulled back to some levels that could be suggesting we're at support, although, like the bear flag, the Fibonacci extension, which I will go over, and also some more bearish divergence or potential bearish divergence, I think that we could be going lower with Rivian. And so to note, I do have the 786 here marked in orange. That's at a price right around $11 here at 1103. That's the 786 from this retracement. Going from the low, it looks like just before their earnings report in November. Before that came out, the low was 950 on November 6th before hitting that high of 1665 on January 3rd. We have retraced to that level. We did actually break below it, but did get a bounce. And so from that level, that bounce was about 20+% to the upside, but then we did break lower again, and really it just seems like there's a lot of weakness testing this level multiple times. Eventually it is going to roll over and break down, but there is some hope. That yellow trend line that I have marked there, this is not a pivot point, but we did get a slight pierce of it. Maybe that's suggesting that it's acting as support with that low from April 4th being at a price of 1036. Maybe that is going to be acting as support, as it has acted as support in the past. Just going back over here, had the pivot low from April 16th of last year, that being at 826, believe it or not, it's pretty cheap. And then also, the pivot low over here being before that earnings report was released, beginning of November. that low was at a price of $9.50. And so from there, that's how I get that yellow trend line. And, we have tested it, we have bounced from it, but maybe we get a rollover. And so some levels that we might be testing to the downside here, I do have this alert here, curious to see where that's at. $10, just the whole double digit round number there. So just keeping an eye on that, the $10 bill. I personally don't have a position in Rivian and I'm not planning on buying, although I'd like to. I'm just trying to be a little bit disciplined, consolidate my portfolio currently. What we can see though is earnings are coming up on the 6th of May. So maybe a bottom is found around there and it launches, kind of just like what happened over here in November, going up from that earnings low about 75%. So maybe we see that. But speaking about that, low in November, that was at 950. I do have that marked over here in white. And then I also have this purple downtrend, which was this, inverse head and shoulders neckline that I had drawn. I remember putting a video out on that and did get a very nice measured move up to there, and also just a gap up really a day or two after I released that video. So I was pretty proud of that. And so this line is based on the pivot high from March 8th of last year, as well as the pivot high from June 12th of 2024. And did get some consolidation just below that level over here. And maybe we do retest it to the downside. So good to be cautious of that. And, I was talking about bearish divergence over here. I think that we have some hidden weak bearish divergence currently going on. We do have lower highs here. And what do we see? And actually, maybe I should take a step back. We do have lower highs here in the stock price. But what do we have in the RSI? Also lower highs. So there's no divergence there. When you have lower highs, they match. No divergence. They are in agreement. And that is no bearish divergence. So that suggests, it's not necessarily going to continue lower. But then over here, we have lower highs, but then the highs over here in the RSI are effectively flat. You can see that line going across there, intersecting with kind of the double top here. So that is going to be a weak divergence because we see lower highs here, but flat highs here. So there's a little bit of divergence, so it's kind of weak, but this is also hidden bearish divergence. You normally expect bearish divergence to be higher highs in the stock price corresponding with a divergence in the oscillator or indicator, the RSI down here. And we're seeing the opposite of that, lower highs and it being flat. Although now we are seeing lower highs here corresponding with lower highs in the RSI. So maybe that suggests that the bottom is in. So that's quite the possibility. And then we do have, let's see, lower lows in the bottoms here. But in the RSI, we actually see higher lows. So maybe what was weak hidden bearish divergence here is now getting flipped into what I would say is probably some weak bullish divergence. While we do have higher lows in the RSI, we don't have that notable of a lower low in the stock price. I should note, sometimes they get switched around. This would be higher lows. This is slightly, ever so slightly lower lows in the stock price. But before I continue this ramble on too much longer, I should do that Fibonacci extension also, before I forget to do it. And so that is going from that high that was over here, which was at a price of $13.49, bouncing from $10.36. And then up to the high that we saw after that. I just want to make sure I get it to the right point, and that would be from 12.18. And also with that being earlier on, not being able to get back up to 12.18, it looks like the high from April 16th was 12.15, so still below that. So that makes me think that this is a little bit weak. But what is that 100% extension? So that's just going to be the distance from this high to this low, but then taken from this high over here. So if I take a step back, that would be suggesting price could be coming down to $9 or $9.05, breaking below the alert here I have at 10. And something that I did draw, and I want to make sure I don't forget to throw up here. I should just make this green though, because I think that would probably be a dip buying opportunity at 9. even though that's like, a fake out break, potentially a fake out break below 950 over here, that low before this earnings report. Maybe we get some wicks down to 905, as long as we don't spend too much time there, just a couple days maybe, and then a bounce. 905 could be a nice dip buying opportunity. But what I was saying, what I do want to draw up here is a parallel channel. I had drawn this during the stream as I am recording this live. We do have the pivot high here from November 13th, and then I'm just going to connect that to the low here from looks like March 11th, and then I'm just going to connect that to the highs up here. The reason why I'm not drawing it to the highs up here is because we don't have any other retests of it, whereas with this we nearly got a test of it when we hit 1549, and then we did pierce it, got another got a pierce of it, pierced all of those levels here, pierced with just a wick that downtrend, and then also pierced it over here. So that does seem to be fairly notable. And with the downside, the lower, the bottom portion of that parallel channel did get, rejection over here, and then, kind of got rejected of it here before pulling back to then break above. And so, yeah, I think that's, maybe it's a little bit approximate, but does have, a test of it over here. So, yeah, actually, this gap up to that level and then pull back some. So, yeah, I do think that there is something to that parallel, and that could be suggesting that price will be going lower. When we do have a confluence of levels here, I might, let's see, I'll just make that be a light blue, and I'll make it a thick parallel. And so we can see kind of the confluence of levels that we have down here. 10, where I have that alert, that's actually behind us. So I don't think that 10 is going to act as the bottom. We want to see a confluence of levels to suggest that there is support, and we don't see that there. Potentially, we do see that with 950 serving as the low over here just before that earnings in November. That does intersect with this downtrend, and that is looking forward into the future, but that is this week. So maybe we see some volatile moves to the downside, maybe corresponding with what happens around Tesla earnings this week. Maybe there's some bad news that is not beneficial for other EV companies, or maybe there's some good news for Tesla that is bad news for other EV companies. I don't know, but maybe just something across the EV market. Maybe there is some downside there. 950 could be finding some support there this week. But if we do see continued downside, maybe around May 6th, around their earnings call, we do have that confluence of levels here with this Fibonacci extension, that 100% extension there at 905, $9 whole number, and an intersection with the bottom of that parallel channel. So yeah, I unfortunately think that this could be going lower, and or if this is not, I personally don't plan on chasing, because I'm just trying to, tighten up my portfolio and not be, chasing all the exciting stocks, because, you just got to manage that risk. And I think it's kind of a time to be managing the risk. But yeah, lots of levels down here. I ultimately think that we are going to be breaking below 11. 10, 950, and 9 are the levels I would be looking to potentially find support. And I think that 10, unlikely to hold. 950, that's a safer bet. 905 or 9, I think that might be getting a little bit greedy for the discount. So yeah, but I think that with the low over here being 950, I think a lot of people want to see that held as support. I think that we will break it, but hopefully short-lived before it bounces up. So I guess I will end this with a doodle of where I could see this going. I could see something like that. Maybe not such a dramatic pullback here, but I could see this, kind of launching around earnings, but then maybe get rejected from some of these levels up here. So we'll have to see. But anyways, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching. And so I will release that as a clip just before the market opens. So I got to get to editing that soon. But I'm just going to open up the chat here. Hydra Hustler, if you're still with me, you think you just posted that a couple minutes ago. So I will pull up American Airlines real quick, ticker symbol AAL. And then I'm just going to also adjust this side here so we can see all those numbers on the side. And so let's see, AAL. This looks like, wow. I mean, I haven't looked at this in a while. And to be honest, I've been disappointed in the performance of American Airline videos whenever they put them out. So I have not been too encouraged to do a video on them. But here, I mean, what we see is this Fibonacci retracement. I drew this a while ago, and we have fully broken down to that 786. Kind of got a fake out break below it, bounce, but then total breakdown and then ultimate rejection on, I believe this would have to be the 9th of April, moved up exactly to that level, hit a high on the day of 1123, piercing that level by a penny. That level happens to be at 1122. And yeah, I think that this looks pretty weak. But maybe with that weakness or the lows that we're seeing, maybe there's an opportunity. And let's see. Thinking about this, I mean, we look at this, just taking a step back here. This is a lot of volume here, and that's as this is rolling over. So that doesn't give me a lot of confidence. We do see lower low in the stock price here. Also a lower low in the RSI. And this was pretty massively oversold. Wow. Hit a low of, it looks like 1637. And that was up here. And so actually, yeah, I mean, bigger time frame, lower low. And this is also a lower low. So there's no bullish divergence to suggest a bottom's in. Over here, we did see lower low in the stock price, higher low, that's bullish divergence. And then following that, we did get a very nice upside move over 100% there. So that's very nice. But now looking at, the shorter term, we do see lower lows in the stock price corresponding with higher lows in the RSI. So that is some bullish divergence, but getting this rejection here, very clear rejection, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence, but maybe there's some news, maybe there's some forecasts that are good coming out. Earnings this week on the 24th, which I believe is going to be Thursday. Yeah, so I think that this is pretty risky. And I mean, just thinking about, the tariffs, the foreign countries not necessarily wanting to come to America because whether that's Trump, because of the tariffs, because of the deportations, whatever it is, I think there's a little bit of a reluctance to travel right now. And so AAL, American Airlines, may not have the best forecast. And so that may cause further downside. And so if I were to put money on this, which I am not in it and I do not plan on getting in on it, while there is some bullish divergence here with the lower lows and the higher lows in the RSI, I feel like we see all of this volume here with it coming lower and this clear rejection here. And, this is, bear flag, really. I think that this is probably going lower. I would bet that earnings will be weakened projection plans for the future, and that this is probably going to roll over. So that is what I would think about that. But with that being said, I'm going to make sure I get that clip of Rivian released before the market opens. So I'm going to end the stream here. But, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you did find them helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video and, like the stream. Thank you all so much for joining. It's been fun, I guess, Hydra Hustler, having you in the chat. Unfortunately, you were the only one making requests, but that could just be because of the holiday weekend, people being a little slow to start the week. But yeah, I think it's going to be, as always, an exciting week. And I will have another live pre-market prep tomorrow. I'll try to start it at 7, but with my work schedule, it's kind of tough to be rocking and rolling at 7, so maybe 7:15 at the latest. But yeah, have a great day trading. Good luck to you guys, and also